13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
That is what people say.
You're riding high in April.
They do say that.
They do
Shut
say
down in May.
what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Brady's HT, episode 173 for those who are counting. And it is our second in the week, which means we must have something pretty big to talk about here. And we certainly do. We got a brand new episode of Agatha All Along, episode 4 that dropped on Wednesday. And we have one of the most anticipated films of the year, by at least maybe in our circles or something like that, but Joker, Folie, Deux, released officially today with previews yesterday. So we do need to get into that, and Jason and I have been scraping at the door, if you will, to get to this one, because I'm sure we have a lot of thoughts. But thank you as always for joining us. If you're joining us on Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube, or if you're joining us wherever you found the audio and podcast, we are opening up with the Lady Gaga cover of That's Life from the soundtrack of Joker and Folie. So I think it was kind of appropriate for this one. And that's it. We got another Friday night, Jason. Some wacky stuff tends to happen on our shows on Friday night, so let's see where this
Crazy
takes us.
things happen on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Friday. It's today was a nice day off for me. Happy New Year, I believe, is the what's going on in the Jewish faith, which is why I'm off. So thank you, and I wish you all the best. And you know what, Ed, I just want to say this to you, that I get no kick from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. But I get a kick out of you because it's a musical episode, Ed.
It certainly is. And I will have we'll have a lot of musical things to discuss. I mean, I know we talked about maybe singing our entire review and episodes and spoiler discussion. I'm not saying that's off the table. Random song could break out tonight. Who knows? I mean, but we'll see. I mean, I can't make any promises one way or the other. But let me just finish sharing this thing out quickly.
It's a Friday. Anything
it is, and it often
Friday,
does.
It often does. We might be singing. We might be dancing. We might cast a spell, and Aubrey Plaza might show up. And wouldn't that be nice? Let's cast that spell right now.
Oh, that would be fantastic. All right. There will be no complaints there. All right. So let's get to it then.
How awesome would it be if Aubrey Plaza just appeared in our, like came to the episode? Like, oh, by the way, Faraci set this up. Our 200th, Faraci, you owe us big. We want Aubrey Plaza on our 200th.
Wow. Well, listen, Faraci, you should deliver on that one. I mean, we've done the work on this show, put it that way. As we were discussing with Rick in our group text, as we were reeling off some all-time classics, we'll say, that we've covered on this show before. So we've certainly put in the work. So I think a reward for episode 200 would definitely be warranted.
I'm gonna say, Mr. Faraci, we're earners. All right? You might not like me. That's okay. I'm an acquired taste, but I'm an earner. All right? I think I've earned this.
That was good.
Thank you. We're not talking about the Penguin, so I needed to quote it.
Sure, it is a good excuse to get them in. I mean, we're dealing with another Batman villain, ish.
Yes,
but
we
we'll
ish.
But we
Big
no Penguin for tonight. Yes, the huge ish. All right. Well, let's get to it then. Let's get to the latest that the MCU has been offering. Agatha All Along, episode 4, which dropped on Wednesday night on Disney Plus at 9 o'clock. And I actually took a time out from watching some playoff baseball, and I watched it at like 9:05. For some reason, I was like,
okay.
really wanted to kind of be on top of this one. I don't know what it was. So,
all right. What did you think? Because I know you didn't really love the last one.
I think in some ways this is kind of on par with the last one, but maybe a touch better. I don't know. There's a couple of things I thought were really cool with this, like especially the curse, the demon, when it took a form. I was like, whoa. For the MCU, this is some serious horror stuff right here. This is like Night of the Demon shit going on.
Yeah.
I was kind of taken back like for a second. I was like, whoa, hey, Disney Plus. Easy there. Looked really cool.
Yeah, that was very cool looking.
And I also the addition of bringing back Rio Vidal or Brie Plaza into this one. She seems like she's having a blast on this show. Like her and Catherine Hahn always seem like they're having a blast.
They are having a great fucking time, and they've got great chemistry too.
They do. They really do. So the bringing her into the fold, I enjoyed because again, she's just this crazy, kooky, just wild card in this. And then there's also scenes where she, especially when they're playing the song and everything like that, and she's the drummer, where she's like totally doesn't give a shit about what's going on here, and she's like wants nothing to do with it. She's just like, I'm here for one purpose, and that's it. And she kind of seemed like she was done with it, which I thought made me laugh as well. And her random she was really funny in this episode, so that's why. Yeah, it was something I talked myself into. I liked 4 more than 3.
All right, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
How about you?
I didn't love this one. I got to be honest. I didn't love this one. I liked the demon stuff. I felt it was weird. Like we summon a green witch and then it's Aubrey Plaza. I don't know. It felt kind of convenient. I mean, because I knew that Aubrey Plaza needed to get back on the show because she'd been gone for 2 episodes, and I did clock that because she was also all over the marketing, you know?
Yes.
I thought it was like some of the character stuff was cool. I thought like the woman realizing that, oh my God, this song was a protection spell for me, like that my mother wrote. That was cool, but I don't know. I just it didn't hold my overall. I thought there were cool moments, but the entire thing like didn't hold my attention as much as the other ones, to be honest. Like, and maybe it's because I expected like another trial, and yeah, but you know, also like it's. I don't know. I felt like this episode lacked a bit of direction that I expected the show to have, if that makes sense.
Okay. Actually, I forgot to drop that spoiler warning across the bottom because this episode's only been out for 2 days now. So, if you have, no, it's all right. So, if you have not watched Agatha All Along episode 4 and you don't want to be spoiled, come back at another time. But otherwise, feel free to keep going. We didn't really get anything too crazy here, but just yet.
I've already looked up our new format, Ed.
No. That wasn't about the show, just a movie. So, all right. Quick things here that we learned. Sharon, Mrs. Hart, she's dead. Like, she's dead. Like, she seems like she's definitely dead. So, we were wondering about that earlier this week. Like, is she dead or not? No, she's dead. So, there are stakes to this show, which I did like. The fact that there are stakes, that happen here.
I agree.
So, that's cool. And Agatha's reaction, she doesn't give a shit, by the way. She's just they definitely hammer home the whole thing where she's like, cool, let's just replace her, get somebody out of here. She couldn't handle the road. Let's just find somebody else, and that's it. Let's go. Let's get our powers, or my power, and let's just get to the fucking end of the road now. Let's just get here. And I thought I enjoyed that because we even discussed last episode. We want the villains that these shows are centered around to remain villains, right? We don't want them to be turned into anti-heroes all the time.
No.
And we also learned something pretty interesting because they do ask, like, your last time on the road, how many people walked away? 1. So everyone
just
died
her.
with her, which that was something that was, and oh shoot, sorry, 1 second. I may have. Damn it! I locked Angie out of the house.
Oops. Well, it's all right. I'll go through.
No,
she's
she's got it. She's gonna ask our neighbor.
Okay.
For this, I had no idea she was coming home
Okay.
this early. I thought she was gonna be later. All right, so I think we're okay. All right, so let's get back to Agatha Long. My bad for getting distracted here. So that's what we learned there. Is they had mentioned Agatha summons. They need a green witch to replace her. Summoning, and it kind of did look like. Did you think for a second that they brought Miss Hart back to life when he was coming out of the grave, or did you think you knew it was Rio Vidal right away?
I didn't think it was Miss Hart, but I didn't realize it was going to be Rio Vidal. Like until we saw her. Like I was kind of just like, oh, where's this going? That's okay. That's interesting. But I actually kind of after our last conversation where we were like, yeah, she's probably dead, right? Like I kind of just took her for dead and moved on.
Yeah. But her being reanimated, I thought would have been kind of interesting. But we do get Rio Vidal here. And I thought it was pretty funny. One of her moments that I really got a kick out of here was when they ask her, "Are you're a green witch?" And she's like, "No, I'm the green witch. Like, I am the green witch. I am like fuck all of that." I thought that was pretty good. And that was like the beginning of her having like a blast throughout this entire episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And she does have a lot of fun, and she's got great chemistry with Catherine Hahn. Yeah, she's actually one of the brightest spots for me on this episode.
Agreed. So while the road adapts to the coven, and they basically move on to the next witch whose trial it is, and it is Alice, whose mother was one of the witches, and she's like if you want to say nepo baby or descendant of that, and that does play a huge role in the episode because she tries to go away from the house. And then it appears on the other end, and they're like, "Listen, we got to go in for this. This is it. This is our time." They go in, and like the last episode when they were kind of like, housewives of whatever, or keeping up with the Kardashians, if you want to say whatever the heck the clothing, like the aesthetic was. This is like 70s rock band type thing that's going on here.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Which looks good. I thought that looked really good, actually.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty cool aesthetic here. So then we start to see something that does pay off later in the episode, throughout the episode, is the relationship between Agatha and Rio is established. Because I kind of feel like there's a little bit of flirtation that starts here. And I was like, oh, I got to admit, I didn't see that coming. I wasn't really clocking that. I thought they were just kind of like mortal enemies, and that was that. But I didn't realize what we learned by the end of the episode is that they had a relationship in the past, that they were in love previously in one of their thousands of years and on the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah, which actually gives is the answer to the promise Aubrey Plaza was teasing at, right? Like, this is gonna be the gayest MCU show you saw. It's a gay explosion. So I think that's cool. I'm completely okay with them going there for this character.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just with this episode does with introducing that, I'm just kind of very curious to know like, all right, so what got them to this point, which I'm sure will be revealed. We don't get the full answer to that, but what we do get though is, Agatha does turn on her a little bit after that. While they're in this like recording studio, and she hits like this hot mic, and has the whole coven here. How she wants to basically Rio Vidal wants to basically gut them and kill all of them and take all their power and yada yada, and they don't trust her right after that. So there still is that contention, even though this is a quick flirtation. So that's what I mean. They have like a complex relationship that I'm very curious to learn about.
Absolutely.
And I guess also Alice's mother, in ways, tries to like communicate with her at various points throughout the episode, where she kind of like talks through other members of the coven, which I thought was also pretty cool as well. And to go ahead and to kind of kick things off, though, the teen ends up thinking he has a clue and plays this record backwards which we find out later is the Ballad of the Witch's Road. But he plays it backwards, which you've seen in a bunch of different ideologies and stuff that turns into like, it's always something demonic when you play music backwards, which I thought was actually kind of funny.
Which is a fun, I thought that was a fun homage to like that weird time in American history of, satanic panic, where if you play Bon Jovi backward, they'll talk about Satan. It's like, what, you mean John Bon Jovi, the guy from fucking Jersey?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I kind of doubt it. And so then that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Ozzy one too is ridiculous. Like he sows the seed and he'll do all these things. It's like, dude. Now we look back, it's like that guy was stoned. He couldn't get himself home. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, that's my.
So we find out though that playing this record backwards though does release this generational curse that we were unaware, and that's where I was mentioning how it looked really cool and stuff like that once it takes like a physical form. But that curse starts attacking the different members of the coven, and they all get these huge gashing burn marks on them and stuff like that. And we find out that Alice has always had one. She also thought it was like a hereditary thing or something like that. Meanwhile, we find out it's because she's been attacked by a curse. And then that the song itself was a protection spell from her mother. The song that she's hated and she didn't want to hear, and which became like this huge hit, was a protection spell. So what they figure out is that they have to play the song, like to perform it, and to kind of to get the protection spell back on all of them and Alice as well. So I thought that was actually cool, and that's where it goes into this musical number, yada yada, and they're playing this whole thing. And I found it pretty cool. And also, by the way, that was the other option to open up with. It's on iTunes. They actually have
of course
the song. So of course, an MCU show.
It's a fun song.
It is. I like
and it's
it
a
too.
fun song. I'm not gonna lie. I actually did. I like that aspect of it. I like the whole physical representation of the generational trauma. I thought that was cool, but I also felt that it was a bit on the nose, right? Like I don't know, like it's saying like, yes, this is a demon that has stalked you, but I was very interested in the mother's protection spell and kind of like the mother trying to. So I don't know. I kind of hope we see more with her mother. That's all I'm saying. I thought that was some cool stuff there that I'd like to see followed up on later on.
Yeah, and there's also an interesting line in the episode where they mention that her fans were her coven, which I thought was actually kind of cool too. So that kind of like makes sense.
That was really cool.
Yeah. So
I agree
once
with that.
Once the curse is defeated in like its demon form and stuff, Teen apparently gets injured by some shrapnel that's there, and he gets like stabbed in the stomach and gets a wound. And I think this is where some of the reveal comes. Is Agatha seems awfully concerned about Teen after kind of playing it down, and she wants to go ahead and get him saved. Jennifer ends up conjuring up an antidote and cures him and saves him right there too. And it also makes her feel better that she's kind of like doing something right and everything like that and stuff. But one thing on Jennifer, there's been mentions of her being bound because they have this conversation right afterwards and how but we don't know who has bound them at any point.
No.
Do we want to open up speculation on who has bound them?
I don't know. I mean, would it be gauche to say Mephisto? But I don't even know if I think it is Mephisto. I really don't know.
I don't know. I don't think
it
it's
could be anyone
met before. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be anyone. Like I don't know. Like I hope it comes back. I hope it's important, but I haven't. Based on what we've seen in the show, I have no idea.
Yeah, because they just keep saying he, and that's it.
Right.
Man, I don't want to go down this route, but I mean, it kind of keeps taking me there as the Mephisto thing again. Like, why name drop him?
I mean, it's the only thing I could think of, right? Like, why name drop him? Why bring him into this? Clearly, he's a presence here, whether we see him or not, whether we meet him or not. He's a presence in this show, and So yeah, I'm with you. It's the only thing I can think of that they've set up that might make sense.
And I do wonder if there's any, maybe this will lead back to any truth of the rumors. I remember at one point it was rumored that Sacha Baron Cohen was going to be Mephisto, that he was cast, and that kind of just evaporated. Yes. I don't know. Just something to throw out there that I just kind of wonder if this is where the payoff is.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it.
All right, so then Tien inquires about the sigil, asking Agatha once he's healed up, like, about it. Who did you put it on me? What about it? And stuff like that. And she kind of like basically says it wasn't me. I don't like using them. You don't, take them away. You kind of like have to break them and stuff like that. And she says,
yeah, right. You can't remove the curse.
Yeah, you can't remove it. You have to break it. Right. So
yeah.
We also find out, though, that she says that even though you can't hear somebody's name, you kind of know who they are, which adds fuel to the fire of the speculation that, all right, so Agatha at least thinks she knows who he is. And I thought that was actually pretty interesting. And
I believe we also find out in this episode that the witch who casts the sigil also doesn't remember doing it, like, because he doesn't remember how he got it, and so the witch who cast it would not remember casting it, which has also added a bit of fuel to the fire. This might have been Agatha until they kind of dispelled that, but now it's like, okay, so then who cast it on him? It's got to be someone in this coven. It's got to be someone that we've met, right, at this point.
So, and that's the thing. I think this is where the kind of, to be honest with you, for the grand scale of the series, where the meat and potatoes of the episode was for me, was in the last 5 minutes or so, to be honest, around the teen stuff.
Same.
That's where it was in, right?
And that's why I wasn't crazy about the episode, because it was good stuff, but I felt that the main stuff doesn't happen until the last 5 minutes, and then it's over.
Yeah, the teen mostly, and then also the Agatha Rio stuff had me very interested to see what was going on. Yes. Besides the fact that it was, we find out that they were in a relationship, and it's not like we're Jerry and Kramer watching Catfight or something like that. Like, that's not what we're talking about here.
No. That's the least interesting part of that conversation. The most interesting part is when she out and out says he's not yours, and because fucking pokes holes in our theory.
Yeah, because we just got a theory, right? And then within 5 minutes, right, there's this moment alone where, well, actually, no, they're talking, the coven is sitting around talking about battle scars and stuff. And, Agatha has this great line, actually. She's like, look, this one was like a pin, that in my elbow. You ever hear of the Sisters of Liberty? And they're like, no. Well, guess what? Now you know why you never heard of them. Because I fucking killed them. And that was it. That was kind of interesting. Yeah. But then Rio follows up next, and she's like, well, I have a scar. Nobody's buying it. They're like telling her she's full of shit. She's like, no. Like, that she deeply loved somebody so much, and that she had to do something she didn't want to do, but it was her job. So she did it. And that's the person is her scar. And telling by Agatha's reaction, who's sitting next to her, kind of, I mean, at least it leads you to believe that that's who she's referring to. Because once Agatha leaves, Rio leaves right after her, or vice versa. Then they have this moment alone. They have a quick embrace hug. And then Agatha looks like she goes to kiss Rio, and then Rio backs her off and just says, listen, the boy is not yours. He's not yours. And Agatha's expression is kind of complex about it, where she's kind of smiling and not, but then concerned. And then Rio seems like she has kind of like a weight lifted off of her. And that's where the episode ends, like abruptly.
Yep. And it's the thing, that last 5 minutes was huge. That's the biggest part of the episode.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's update our theories then. All right, so Teen, Jason, for you, still Blackheart.
Still Blackheart.
Okay.
Connected to Agatha. Maybe not hers, but connected to her. Possibly
you said last week, though.
Plaza's the one who...
Well, hold on. But
I said last week I thought that...
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, not last week. Actually, I take that back. Not a few days ago. You if I'm
Yeah.
correct, you said that you believed that teen is Blackheart, mothered by Agatha, but fathered by Mephisto, which would make still follow in this. Are you still on board with that?
So yes and no. I still think he's Blackheart. I no longer think that. Well, I think it's possible now. I just can't take Aubrey Plaza's word for this.
It's true.
Because she is kind of villainous. But whether Agatha's the mother or not, I think she definitely has some connection to the teen that we don't know, and maybe she doesn't know. And now I'm starting to think that maybe Aubrey Plaza is the one who cast that sigil on him.
Interesting. Okay. I like that.
Because how else would if she's telling the truth? If she's telling the truth, how the hell would she be so sure who this kid is? Unless she already knows. And if she already knows, then she's likely the one to cast the sigil or something. She has something to do with it. So yeah, that is my ever-changing theory, and I'll have more next week when they give us more.
Oh no! Every episode we update. We have definitely chances at the end of our discussion to update our theories. I am still sticking on Billy Maximoff.
We got to.
Right, I'm gonna still stand my ground on that.
I'm liking it.
And yeah, nothing's changed for me, but I am fascinated by these because it feels like we're getting misdirects left and right now. Like literally within 5 minutes of each other now.
We are.
So they are definitely fucking.
Yeah, we are. And that's the thing is, who do you believe and who do you not believe? And I definitely still think he's Blackheart because of the whole who the fuck was the Blackheart in the list, right? They made a whole point about that. And he's the one who's there, and this is still working. So I definitely do think he's Blackheart. It's just a matter of now who put the sigil on him and how he's connected to Agatha, because now now we have been given reasons to think that maybe she is not his mother.
Okay. Angie, I'm going to throw out Angie's theory. Angie thinks that Rio is Blackheart. Because she's she's in the coven now. She's in the coven now, so technically that could be the name. So I don't know.
I like that theory. That's a fucking solid theory. I like that a lot.
Something to chew on.
Yeah, that's something to monitor. So I didn't even think about that, but now I'm going to be watching with that in mind as well.
All right. So we actually, oddly enough, have time until next Wednesday night at the earliest to think about this. But no, I think I'm not acting like I'm being blown away by the series, but I am. The teen stuff is keeping me interested. The Coven's cool. I like them, but I would like to see a little bit more. And the now Rio and Agatha stuff is interesting because I do want to know what the hell happened now. Like they have to definitely have a flashback or something like that and show us what happened in their past, which I'm sure we'll get at some point.
Yeah, so. I agree with you 100%. This has not wowed me so far. I've liked it. It's been hit or miss at points, but I'm interested. I'm invested. Like if we stop doing the show tomorrow, I'd still finish this off to see how it ends.
Yeah, likewise. All right. So then that brings us to our movie of the week. This will be fun.
So it does.
And sort of fun. And here we go. Okay. So all right. So as we did get, by the way, this is 5 years to the release date of the original Joker that they released. Joker, Folie. Was. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yes. So
do you know what Folie means? Did you look it up?
Shoot, I did, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm drawing a brain fart right now. What do we got?
It means shared delusion.
Okay.
Which I thought was an interesting title for this movie.
Yeah, I think it is actually a very interesting title for this, especially since, just to kind of like briefly recap our thing, and which, by the way, if you are watching, you have not seen Joker, Folie, we're going to start off with a non-spoiler review. We will stay vague, no spoilers, and then once spoiler time starts, I will drop the ticker at the bottom. You will be warned properly, and then we're going to get into the details of exactly why we feel the way we do and break it down.
And while Ed drops that, I'm gonna sing spoiler time, coming to Granny's, spoiler time, Granny's
Hey,
peach tea.
That's the Robert Englund
I don't know
movie
what
we were
reminded me of
discussing
Fort Fairlane
in
today,
our green room. We were talking about Robert Englund before.
Oh, yes, that's what we're doing. That's it. Done.
Sorry, a little behind baseball thing with that. But,
Actually, anyway, yeah.
all right, but let's get to Joker for all I do. So let's just if in the receipts are there. Once this movie was announced and it was officially going to be a Joker sequel, and it seemed like the fan base was very split on this. Like some were excited about it, willing to give it a chance. Others were kind of like Joker was meant as a one-off. It was never intended to have a sequel because Todd Phillips himself said so. And that was it. But when a movie makes $1 billion, you damn well know it's getting a sequel no matter what. No matter what happens, no matter what the creators say, it's getting a sequel will be coming because cash is king. And every movie, you could say technically, is a cash grab, right? Like no movie's ever being made because it doesn't want to make money. So Jason and I had different aspects of it. And we talked about this. We talked about this movie quite a couple of times, I remember, especially when it was announced that it was going to be a musical. I do not like musicals.
I was very much in the. No, you do not. You do not.
I do not like musicals, but I do love the Joker. Okay, and I love the first movie, Joker, not the Joker, Joker, because that's something I will come back around to later on. Now, Jason, on the other hand, likes musicals very much. If I'm correct.
I love musicals.
You love musicals, but you were kind of like cautiously. Would you even say cautious optimistic when this movie was announced?
I was very much in the camp when I heard that the Joker was getting a sequel. That it didn't need a sequel. I was with the director. I felt that. And you can go back and watch our review of the show. I'm sure I said it on our review. Like, it was a fantastic movie. I loved it to death. I never wanted it, but it had nothing to do with the Joker. This was not the Joker, as you say. Mm-hmm. It's Joker. They are different characters. Todd Phillips actually admitted he only made it a Joker movie because that's how he got it funded. So that kind of gives credence to what I was saying. I was very much like, this character's story is at an end. I don't need to see more. I never want to see him fighting Batman. I never want to see Batman in this universe. It doesn't make sense. And so I was very much against the sequel until I heard it was a musical. And then I was like, this could be interesting.
Yeah, and I, on the other hand, was like, you know something? All right, it's going to be a musical, right? Or at least it was being described as that at the time. And we both agreed, though. I think we even discussed this on shows, that if it was going to, we figured that the musical aspects were going to be a shared fever dream between author and Harley Quinn, right? Because once she was announced that it was going to be Lady Gaga, things started lining up, right? Like, and I thought the concept of having Lady Gaga play Harley Quinn in a musical, then I was like, okay, this all makes perfect sense now, and it's starting to line up. And hey, they're going to swing big, but this could either go really wrong or this can go really fucking right. I did say that. I didn't think there was going to be any middle ground. And telling by the Rotten Tomatoes score and by our own conversations that we've had around Rick, because we haven't actually had a conversation about this movie yet until right now, it seems like I was right. There was either going to be it was going to hit or it was going to miss really badly. Now, having said that, we can get into our thoughts of this thing. Now, Jason, you know what my overall thought was on this film, but you can.
I do.
Go ahead and what were your overall thoughts on this?
All right, my non-spoiler overall thoughts is this. I liked a lot of this, and I thought a lot of it didn't work. I feel that the pacing is really off. There were times like I was really bored, but there were times where I was super engaged, right? But so that I think that's a pacing issue. I think the way they portray Harley Quinn without any spoilers is a mistake, and is, in my opinion, the biggest failing of this movie. And we'll get into why when we get to it. And I think I would say I liked about 75% of the musical numbers.
Okay.
But I think there were too many. And I think it kind of dragged the movie down and added to the pacing problem that I had. Like, and I find that, like, you know, we talked about this, and I don't know if this is a spoiler talking about like when these musical things happen. But like some of them are fever dreams and some of them are not. And I think the ones that are fever dreams that give us a reflection inside Arthur Fleck's head, because it's a character study of Arthur Fleck. This entire movie, it's just a character study of this guy. And so the musical numbers that give us insight into what he's thinking and what he's feeling is interesting. But then the stuff that's, you know, when he's kind of just singing on the phone, right? I was like, I don't know, do I need this? So I think there's a lot to like here into like pieces, but as a movie, I don't think it worked. And I think probably liked it more than you. I definitely liked it more than Rick. But I didn't love it. I thought it was fine and a bit longer than it had to be.
Okay. I think there were, and this, I guess, this is somewhat agreeing with what you were just saying, but I think there are concepts of a good movie here. There are concepts of a great movie here. But this is not a great movie. This is not a good movie. This movie did not work for me. I think, I'm going to be honest, I think it's a bad movie with some good and great elements in it, but overall, no. I think it is a disappointment. I was thoroughly disappointed by this movie. When I tempered my expectations, because as I had started off by saying, my expectations were interesting concept you're going for here, but I don't know if it's going to work or not. Like, I can't say I was so super confident it was going to work. And for me, it didn't work. And the details why we'll get into shortly, but yeah, it's a massive fall off from Joker. I think, like, Joker was going into Joker, and I think we talked about this too. It was me and you. I think we both agreed. Even Joker, we were like, the idea of a Joker solo movie about an origin story we thought was stupid, right? Because part of the thing we both love about Joker in the comics is that we don't know his real story. Nobody really knows. And diving into it, I thought was dumb. But then as the movie was getting closer, talking about the original, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Okay. And then when I heard Todd Phillips and his thing about not the Joker, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I was blown away and pleasantly surprised by the first one. This one here, again, I didn't know if Todd Phillips can have lightning strike twice. And I definitely don't think he did. Like, and it's fine. I knew this was a possibility going into it. And the reviews coming out as early as they did, and just seeing the number on Rotten Tomatoes, my expectations were kind of getting tempered. Because when I went into it, it was at 40%. It is actually down to 33% now. And it keeps plummeting. Okay. The more reviews keep coming. I
will say this. I don't think this is a bad movie, right? I just do want to say this, and I think I said I think I like it a bit more than you. Yeah. I don't think this is a bad movie. I just don't think it's a very good movie. You know, I'm kind of tepid on it.
And the musical thing I'm going to say is this. And Jason, I know we discussed something. I'm not dinging it. One of my dings against this movie is not that it's a musical, because if I ding a movie for being a musical, and I knew it going into it, and then I ding it for that, then I would be a complete idiot. Like that's just not what.
Yeah, right.
That's not what it is. But I will question if this is a musical. I am going to question if this is actually a musical, though, and I think I'm going to save that more for the spoiler part because it's hard to talk about it without.
Because that's fair, and I actually do have a strong opinion on if it's a musical or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I just also think like I'm viewing it through the lens of the first one, which is a pastiche of 70s movies like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. And I think this is trying to do that with 60s musicals, because it's not just a musical, it is a very specific type of musical. And as someone who does theater and who knows theater, like this is like a 50s, 60s, even more, maybe 40s, 50s, 60s on movies, but 40s on the stage, like Cole Porter stuff. Like every song in here is standards. And so I think it's going for a very specific type of musical. Whether it is effective or not, we'll wait till we get into our spoiler point of the conversation.
Yeah. But closing the non-spoiler part of it, I will say this. If Joker worked for you and you really liked Joker, then I do think that you should go to the theater and see this movie and judge for yourself. Because there is a chance, and I will probably always tell you to judge for yourself most of the time, to be honest with you, because all film is subjective, and that's just how it works. Like something I could like, Jason might hate, vice versa, but I just think that if you were invested in the first one, you should give it a shot, see how it works for you. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. Maybe you'll like it more than Jason did. I don't know. But overall, I told Jason this right before we went on, is that I was very close to seeing this movie again earlier today if I had time. But it was mainly for study purposes this time. Like would have been more of it for the sake of breaking it down right now. So that was more of that. Okay, so I'm going to throw up that spoiler ticker on the bottom because it is now spoiler time. So you have been warned. If you have not seen Joker, Folie, Deux, then I suggest you hit the road and come back once you hit
the road, Jack, and come back once you've seen the movie. Sorry, I thought it was a musical. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. I like that was the time to drop it in. That was the time to drop it in. So you've been warned. There it is. Spoiler time. We're going to get into massive spoilers for Joker, Folie, Deux now, and that's it. So
spoiler time across the USA.
Spoiler time. Hey.
Spoiler time.
All right. So the movie opens with this animated sequence that I kind of feel like is somewhat trying to sell what Arthur's lawyer is trying to go with as his defense, that Joker is a split personality disorder that Arthur has.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Okay. So you agreed with that. That's kind of what. Now you look back on. Okay. That's.
No. I saw that even in the moment. Like I realized that as I was watching it. Like this is clearly what they're trying to set up. And I'll be honest with you, I like the opening. I thought it was fun to have that little cartoon. That was fun. And it was setting up what his lawyer is trying to set up, but as what his lawyer is trying to set up comes to nothing, pretty much it comes to nothing because she's gone halfway through the movie. This kind of falls flat and comes to nothing for me. Like in retrospect, that's what I mean. I like individual pieces of this movie. I like that cartoon opening, but in retrospect of the whole movie, it's pointless. It comes to nothing.
So I agree with you, and I think that's one of my issues with this is because I also do think it's not just his lawyer. I actually think that the movie is opening with this to try to sell you on that concept, like you had mentioned. And I think they're driving it home, but I was never buying it at any point. I did not think that that's where this was going at all.
And here's the funny part is I agree with you. I didn't think that that's where the movie was going. But I think every one of the people at his trial, including the one person that he talks to, proves exactly what his lawyer was saying, is that regardless of what's going on, Arthur Fleck and Joker are two different people, and that is like completely fucking sold in the moment where he's like talking to Puddles from the first one, the guy who watched him kill the bully, and he goes, "Why, Arthur? Why'd you do this to me? You were the only one nice to me, the only one to make fun of me. I thought we were friends. You were never like this." Like, they have moments that make it very clear that it's distinct, but then by the end of this movie, he goes, nah, I made it all up. And
yeah, and
that's
I'm glad
the
you
problem I have.
And that's the thing. I think the movie. I'm glad you mentioned that part because all right. So the virtual thing is Arthur's in Arkham Hospital Penitentiary there for the movie. It's based on what he have. Obviously, he was arrested at the end of the first movie, even though we saw him walking away with the blood on his feet thingamajig. Like, okay, whatever. So
whatever. I mean, they caught him again.
Yeah.
We actually see that happen in this movie, so I can accept it.
Yeah, Arthur eluding the authorities is not his strongest suit. So that's another reason to take you off. He is not the Joker.
Yeah, he's not escaping from Arkham anytime soon. On his own.
No, not at all. At all. And that's one of the many things that we learn in this film that can not confuse you. But I'm glad you and then he has this trial because it's basically the trial of Arthur Fleck based on his things that happened in the first movie. And yes, he meets a fellow somewhat inmate named Lee Quinzel, who is Harley Quinn, and that's the overall bones of the story. Now, during the trial, yes, very very loose interpretation of that. The scene in the courtroom with Gary Puddles and that whole thing, because at that point, Arthur fires his lawyer and is representing himself, and he's going in full Joker makeup and costume to represent himself. Now, if you want to get into the legal ramifications, if they would allow that to happen, that's a whole other story. But
yes, I do want to get into that, just not right now.
Yes, because I was sitting next to a lawyer watching this movie.
Yes,
so that's another thing. That some of the stuff in the courtroom was yes. So
I forget that Angie's a lawyer. Angie must have been sitting there going, let me tell you all the things wrong with this.
Well, she also will say it's a movie and yada yada, but she did jump in and say he can represent himself. And I'm like, Angie, I know that, but I'm not saying that. My point is, I don't think there's any courtroom who's going to allow a man who has murdered people in full clown makeup to dress up as a clown as he's defending himself in the court of law.
No.
And questioning a witness that was a witness of one of his murders.
That's it. I'm going to let this guy dress up in the exact manner he dressed up to murder 5 people and interview and cross-examine the witnesses dressed as that. Of course Gary Puddles is shitting himself. I'd be shitting myself too. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that was, and again, this is a movie and I get that, but that was a bit hard for me to buy. Now,
No.
Having said that, though,
but Ed, before you go any further, yes, this is a movie, but this is a movie that takes place in a hyper-realistic 70s New York, which is Gotham City, okay? There is no fucking way in the reality of this movie that a 70s New York judge is going to let that stand. So this is a case, I really feel, of a movie breaking its own reality or the laws that it sets because it needed to get the Joker in full Joker regalia for a scene.
And I fully agree with you. Now, I think the question, and we'll get to one thing that could be, but I did want to also mention that the scene, the cross-examination with Gary, was probably my favorite scene of the movie. Because
it was my favorite scene of the movie. It was amazing.
It was fucking intense. It was crazy. You felt horrible for Gary. Like, you even see that Arthur felt bad by the end of that, when he was like, no more questions, and he was like ending it abruptly.
Yes.
It actually like helped click at some point.
And this is again talking about the pacing. That's a great scene. That's very powerful. You see him go, you've tugged at my heartstrings. Just, you're dismissed. And then when he's still talking, he's like, no, you're dismissed. Just go. He can't deal with it anymore. And then 20 minutes later, he gives his closing.
Yes.
And has that breakdown. But like, it didn't feel fucking connected. And clearly it was. But it didn't, because we had 3 fucking musical numbers. And I think he gets the shit beat out of him at some point in between that, right? Like, and we have a whole bunch of stuff that comes to nothing to bloat the movie, which completely derails the fact that Arthur gives up on being Joker because he sees how he hurt the people he liked. That should be the fucking bones of this movie.
And that's part of the thing is like, this movie, it seems like this movie in its own right has things that it's trying to say and then undercuts itself left and right. Every time it's trying to say something, it undercuts itself. And also, the ending of this movie undercuts the original for me, which is why I feel like in some ways this movie takes a dump on the first movie and the things it was trying to say. That's kind of why it's pissed me off.
The ending of this movie makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's
and I agree with
part
you.
of the thing, and
like
it pisses me off the more I thought about it, and the more I kept thinking about it last night and today, is why I was getting more mad at it. Because again, this movie is almost kind of like Todd Phillips, and if I'll throw in Joaquin Phoenix and maybe even Lady Gaga to an extent, that maybe they thought they were so creative and so clever that they're almost like, we're going to give, if you love the first movie, we're going to basically tell you to fuck off with this movie. And that's why it got me ultimately pissed off about this movie. Because I'm like,
yeah, I could see that.
I'm like, no, absolutely fucking not. That is not how this works at all. Because because it's $200 million bloated budget movie is now going to fall on its fucking face because you got too cute with it.
I mean, if that was their train of thought, it wasn't good enough to do that. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
The first one was really good, and it was divisive. A lot of people didn't like it, and that's fine. I really love that one. I hold that first one up in high esteem. But yeah, I agree with you. This is trying to do something completely different, but also kind of like pissing in the face of some of the things that work in the original.
Yep.
And some of it's small, some of it's big. And I like divisive shit. I like things. I should love this movie. Like you had said, like you weren't sure where I was going with this. I wasn't sure I was going with this till the end of the movie. And then I was like, I like parts, but I don't like it all. I don't like it as a movie. And it's the thing. We always ask, who was a movie made for, right? A Joker movie with Harley Quinn that's hyper realistic and a musical send up to 40s musicals. That's made for me. Okay. They literally made this movie for me and I still wasn't crazy about it.
Which tells you a lot of what you need to know about again,
absolutely.
For me, it's the execution of this movie is what it is. And again, it's all over the place. And there was an article that came out like, I don't know how long ago, maybe a week or two ago, that was with Todd Phillips, and he was talking about the creative process. And he had mentioned that him, Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and stuff, they had scripts, and they would constantly tear them up and just rewrite them that day and just go on with it. And I'm going to be honest with you, it shows. It shows in the final product.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Because
tried
there's
to
a
get
lot
too
of
fucking
inconsistencies.
cute. Exactly. You tried to get too cute, too creative. That technique can hit a home run. It can hit you a fucking grand slam in a movie where this was ad-libbed. All right? And that works. Maybe a couple of times in a movie. But when you're doing that left and right on constant days of shooting, I have a feeling you're destroying your own movie. And that's kind of what I think probably happened.
Yeah. I think it shows with the characterization of Harley, like in particular, and which is my biggest ding on this. Can I get into it? Can I get into my biggest ding on this movie?
Oh no! If you want to get back, if you want to take it to Harley Quinn, I mean, we can discuss characters as well, because I mean, the overall plot of the film we've kind of discussed. So go ahead.
Right.
Start with Harley Quinn.
So I'm going to start with her because she's so fucking consistent. It makes sense what you just told me, right? Like, we meet her, and we have what I felt was the very forced, right? That was a forced moment.
How would she know that?
I was guessing because she saw the movie, but how did they know that? Good point. How did they know that? You're right. That's a him thing. You're right. And actually, I kind of was running under the assumption until she left Arkham that she wasn't real.
Oh, okay.
Because
I wasn't thinking that. Okay.
Zazie Beetz wasn't real, right? In the first one.
That's a good thing.
She was, but she wasn't. And it was only until she left, but like her character just keeps changing so much. Like, I dug it at first where they meet. I didn't quite understand why the asshole guard was taking him for singing lessons to set him up with Harley Quinn. Like, that I thought was kind of just so overt. Like, he literally takes him and stands him next to her. Like, I needed a bit more of that. Like, and just a piece of dialogue. Like, hey, Fleck's I'm gonna have some more fun. He's not telling jokes. He'll make us laugh. I'm gonna do this. Something. We don't get it. The moment when we meet her and that's cool. She's smoking and he shakes her hand, whatever, and that's fine. And then, like, all right, the moment where she lights the fire, I like that, right? And they get out. But everything after that, it's a great shot. And I think that's a great moment of Folie à Deux, right? These two people coming together, having a fucking shared delusion of them being in a musical. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, they have their first kiss with fire in the background.
Right, exactly. First kiss with fire in the background, people running on the other. They escape, they get out. They don't escape, but like they get out another way, and they're singing and they're fucking, kissing. And it felt like a 40s musical, and I was like, this is what it's going for. But then she becomes a completely different character after that. And that happens like 3 times in the movie.
Yeah, because the thing is, when we meet Lee Quinzel, we're led to believe she's an inmate in Arkham, and then we find out, and then she tells Arthur this whole story. Notice I'm referring to him as Arthur, not Joker. That she's a big fan of his and stuff like that. Grew up in the same neighborhood, yada yada. And then as the movie goes on,
mother was abusive.
Yeah, all of this stuff very much kind of like how basically giving her his background, essentially. They have a shared background and stuff like that. And I guess that's partially what has him fall in love with her, right? And then we find out, and it really kind of gets going when there's this weird sex scene that happens in this movie. It is bizarre.
This makes no sense.
And
like, how does she get in there?
Yeah, they're in Arkham, and there's a scene where they have sex, and it's awkward. I mean, often it's awkward and stuff.
I'm sorry.
Blah blah blah.
Ed, let's pull it back a bit. Because you're talking about what happens in his cell, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's pull it back a bit. He is not just in his cell. He has got the shit beat out of him for trying to escape with her by the guards, who literally toss this 20-pound man into a fucking wall, into solitary, and say, you're in here for 2 weeks, go fuck yourself, Fleck, don't fuck with me. And then he has a delusion. He has one of these, like, very cool. I thought these was where this is where the musical really worked, where it was like the Sonny and Cher type of thing that he has. But then she's there, waking him up, like, I'm real. A guard let me in. And then they fuck. And it's like, I thought that she was not real at this point. I was like, how did a guard let her in? They hate this guy. They just beat the shit out of him because he tried to escape. And yes, I know what you're going to say. We find out later she's rich and maybe she paid her way in, but none of that.
No, I wasn't going to say. I wasn't going to say that. I actually was going to say, I don't know if the scene was real or not.
But they don't give us anything to determine that. And the reason I thought
part
it was
of my
real
problem.
because later on,
that's what I'm getting to. Though.
Later on, though, she does say, "I'm pregnant," and that goes nowhere too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the whole thing of them having the random sex, then she's pregnant, and then the way he talks to her at the end on the stairs, she has absolutely no reaction to it and just leaves. She doesn't say yes, she doesn't say no, she doesn't say anything. She has a completely blank reaction to it and leaves, which makes me wonder if that was part of his fantasy. If that was just not real. I don't know. And I think that's kind of part of the problem. That's one of my issues
because
with this.
A lot of it could be fantasy. Yeah. But I mean, but that's the thing is, she's not fantasy. She's a person. She exists. We see pictures of her in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie has done nothing to differentiate for me except for the over-the-top Sonny and Cher musical numbers when it's reality and when it's not. Therefore, by the very logic of the movie, I have to assume all of that was real. The movie has given me nothing to... And I was looking. Because I didn't think she was real. And it's not there.
And I do think that's part of one of my dings. So I'm not saying you got to spell it out for me, but like I do think that there are a lot of musical numbers that happen in this movie that are usually fantasies of his, or theirs. And I will say his actually, because they are his fantasies, they're Arthur's fantasies. But then there are other musical numbers that happen in reality, which is I think is a huge problem.
And those are the ones I think should be cut. Like maybe one or two of them. Maybe just like having them singing to each other. Like I kind of really do like Lady Gaga singing off key with him. Like they're both not singing very well. I like that.
Yeah,
right?
I agree
because that's
that.
a reality. But you need one, maybe two of those. But we get solos. He's singing like when she leaves him at the end. He's singing a whole fucking song in reality into the tape machine. When she's getting herself ready for his trial, she's singing a whole song to herself. That's too much. We don't need that. It adds nothing to the movie.
I think the musical stuff doesn't add... I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of the musical stuff doesn't add anything to the movie, which is why that's another one of my dings on it. And it's not because it's a musical. Part of it, and I also question whether it is, but I think that if you kept the musical numbers to his fantasies, and none of it happened in reality, it would have worked better for me. But for the fact that it is sometimes fantasy, sometimes reality, is dumb. It's just flat out dumb. Like it just does not work at all. It's stupid.
I agree.
And
it also,
especially in a reality that you set up. This is a gritty, hardened reality that just wouldn't happen in. Even if it's a hyper reality, it's still not happening.
Right. Agreed.
So that's what I think.
And they even set that up. They even set that up when he finds out that right after he meets Lady Gaga, and he finds out that they're seeking the chair. Dent is seeking the chair. We do get a Harvey Dent in here. His name is Harvey Dent. And they ask him how he feels, and he does that whole, and this is him, just him, singing terribly for once in my life. I immediately knew that was his imagination, and I'm okay with that. So I even want to say that I'm even okay with the songs in his imagination that weren't fantastical, that were just him dancing around a room in his own head. I'm completely okay with those too. I just wasn't okay when it was him and like when he's singing to himself, when they're singing to each other. Like because that's not part of the delusion. They're really singing to each other, and
yes,
that doesn't happen. It didn't feel earned.
I agree, and that's what I think that again, it's the execution of this film is where it fails. It's inconsistent, it's messy, it's all over the place, and I think that's part of the problem. Okay, so then I also wanted to mention here back to the Harley Quinn stuff. So we do find out that she checked herself in. She was a rich girl from the Upper West Side or East Side of Gotham / New York, which, by the way, this movie also says it's New York and Gotham at various times in the film. So that's also another inconsistency that I clocked immediately, which is kind of, it's weird.
I didn't even notice
it's fucking weird. Yeah, because I was like, oh, wait a second. So this isn't Gotham City anymore. This is in New York, and it's back to being Gotham later on. So that's also kind of dumb. But we find out that she is completely full of shit, essentially. And they keep one aspect of her, comic book persona is they do mention that she did study psychology and that her father's a doctor and she has a degree. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But we also know that this is a loose interpretation of Joker and a loose interpretation of Harley Quinn. So you have to go on board with it, but I just think that making Lee Quinn basically a fanatic, a rich fangirl who finds her way to get into prison close enough to Arthur because she loved what he did in the first film, and then we find out, like, especially by the way with the sex scene, that she puts his makeup on him first before driving home later on because she finds out she wants nothing to do with him once he gives up his Joker persona and says it's completely full of shit.
And that's another reason I think that scene was supposed to be real. Because
no, you might be right. I literally just didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like that, and which makes it worse. Like, because you're right. She later on, and this is another thing I hate about the character. Like, when he has this moment where he's like, I was going to go up here to give a Joker rant, but I'm not the Joker. I'm just Fleck. I killed 6 people. And again, we talked about how that could have been earned, but wasn't, because there was 20 minutes of bloat between the moment that triggered this and the moment that it happens. But then she just walks out and leaves and wants nothing to do with him for the rest. And for me, again, it's like you said, this movie was trying to say things. I think this movie is trying to comment on how Americans are obsessed with fame and also obsessed with dark things. And so we kind of elevate our killers. And and we're going through this now with podcasts, right? So many true crime podcasts or documentaries. We're obsessed with crime, right? But it doesn't actually say anything about it. And that's the problem. Like, it poises as if it's almost like the movie goes, I have something to say, and then nothing happens.
I also think to go back to the trial of Arthur Fleck. So surprisingly, I actually didn't realize that Zazie Beetz was in this movie, and she has a cameo in it as Sophie Dumont.
I love
from
the
first film. No, so do I. But basically, she's kind of here to confirm in the first film that her and Arthur basically had no relationship whatsoever, didn't even really speak to each other, and confirms if anyone was unclear about what was fantasy and what was reality in the first film, even though I kind of feel like they spelled it out for you in that one, she confirms it on the stand. And she also goes a step further, though, to say that Penny Fleck mocked Arthur's condition and his entire thing. Which in the first film, we don't really get much of that. Even we just get Penny as, like, just being, kind of dealing with her own delusions and everything like that. But we find out she is really not a good person.
No, and that is actually one thing I liked about this, because the psychology is there. They established his mother was a delusional narcissist in the first one, and watching him, like his whole thing is he worships her, and my mother told me I would be special and all this, and but clear there's abuse. We find out there's abuse halfway through that movie, but we only ever see her through his eyes in that movie, and he worships her up until he murders her. Yeah. And so I did like that moment where she's going like, but she's not doing it purposefully. She's there to testify against him. And this is kind of what I meant when I said some people that come and testify actually do prove the defense attorney's point. Because she's like, okay, so Arthur Fleck was in your house. What happened? He said he had a bad day and left. I should have called the cops, though. Okay. How about his mother? His mother was nice. All right. What did he say? While he was being nice, what was he saying about his son? And that's when you get like, oh, his stupid laugh, which we know he can't control, right? Like this is something that's a psychological thing. So that's like saying like, oh, I have a child and here's this uncontrollable thing they can't do. I'm gonna mock them for it. That's fucking scarring. That's terrible. And she really does pull out all these things. I really actually liked that part of this movie, and I kind of wish they did more with that, looking at like his mother through a different perspective or whatever. Just because again, it was something interesting and something that was anchored to the first movie and giving us a new view on something that happened in that first movie. And maybe I was just hoping the first movie was here again because I did enjoy that.
And say, it kind of sounds like that's what you were. It sounds like that's what you're hoping for. Like, man, I really missed that first movie.
Yeah, I realized that as I was saying that.
So I think also we find out that during this whole court trial thing that's going on here, there is, as Arthur is kind of basically confessing to everything and tapping out on the whole Joker thing, confessing it was all him. There's no split personality. I'm kind of waving the white flag. There is a bomb that goes off, and is a car bomb that we find out.
It does. Why wouldn't it?
Exactly, and we find out because there's a lot
Deus
of like
Ex
Joker.
Bomb.
There's a lot which we saw at the end of the first movie. There's this Joker following and stuff like that, and people. Again, like the movie's trying to say something to an extent, but doesn't do anything with it. And Arthur gets out of the courtroom and is kind of freed at that moment and is helped outweigh by some of his fanatics. And he ends up even chased by them and finds his way back to the Joker stairs. And Lee is waiting there for him. She happens to know this was all going to happen. Holy conveniency!
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, all right, so I wasn't even against the destruction of the courthouse, right? Like,
no,
you're right. There was
it mean something.
There was enough. There was exactly. There was enough there that I could buy it if it meant something, and I thought, okay, he's going to be free, and maybe this is where it's going to end. It's going to end with. He's on the fucking street. He's the Joker. This is how we're never going to get another one of these movies, but this is how he becomes the Joker. If that's what you want to do, fine. I didn't need it to do that, but all right, that's what you want to do. And then they pick him up, and I go, okay, so maybe you're going to be doing something political. Okay, fine. And maybe we'll find out who the fuck set that bomb because it actually wasn't those guys, right? Or was it? Who knows? They don't actually say.
No.
And then he gets out. When he hears the guys say they're going to burn the city down. And I think, okay, fine. Maybe this is the point where, because he just had that moment of saying, I'm done being the Joker. I'm not him. I'm not Joker. I'm Arthur Fleck. It's always been me. And that was completely antithetical to what they were setting up the whole other fucking movie. Maybe this will mean something. And he hears, okay, if I escape, the city destroys itself. So I thought maybe he was going to run back. Okay, you know what? I got to get out of here because I can't let that happen. That's not who I want to be. But that doesn't happen either. He just, as you said, we see him run because you have to check that box because in the first one, right? He runs a lot in the first one. And then he gets to the stairs, check that box too. And he goes up there, and that whole conversation with Harley Quinn, or Lee, because it's not Harley Quinn, is fucking, it's just, it doesn't make sense to the characters. Like, where she's like, we were never going to go anywhere. All we had was the fantasy. And it's like, but that's not actually what I saw in this movie. Yes,
No.
You guys had this shared delusion, this fantasy, but at no point until right now did I believe you didn't think this was going to happen.
Yeah, so she dresses up in her close to be Harley Quinn garb, goes to the court, and so I guess if he didn't confess and just said that he was Joker, then what exactly? Where does it go? Like, what's her plan?
I
don't know either. That's it. She's just gonna go visit him once in a blue moon, and that's it.
I think the point of the character is the plan is the fantasy. You're not getting out. There's nothing we can do. I don't want you to get out. Clearly, I want the fantasy of what we could have had instead of what we can have, because we can't have anything. But if that's what the movie is saying, it doesn't actually start to say that until the end. Like, there's gotta be more. You've got to pick what you want to say and sow those seeds and reap them at the end. You can't just like say, I have scattershot things to say, and maybe some of them will pay off, because this doesn't.
Yeah, it really doesn't. There was like, a quick thing I did want to mention when the bomb goes off, and then we see the shrapnel there. Harvey Dent, the young assistant district attorney who's going against him, of course, has half his face burnt and stuff and discarded. So that was a quick little nod to Two-Face. But in Todd Phillips' universe, what is Two-Face really going to do? Is he going to one day say, no, I'm not Two-Face? Yes. Just I don't know. I just on one hand, I thought it was kind of a cool thing, and then it wasn't. No, this is it. He is. A couple of days ago, he also said that he's done with the DC universe. He's moving on and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's because he knew that this reaction was coming and he knew it was over before it actually happened. But he was just truly saying, I'm done this time.
I actually kind of think he made this movie to make sure they never ask him to do another one. Like, seriously.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I'm not being a dick.
I agree with
you. Because it's not, I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's a good movie. I don't think it does what it's supposed to do, and I think it's very inconsistent. But even bare bones, like, I think this is him going, you're right, you can show up with cash and I'll say yes, but this is what you fucking get. Don't offer me any more, It
sounds very much like, actually, I was going to say, it sounds like Rob Zombie doing his Halloween 2 eventually, which we saw what happened there. But it was basically, I'm going to shove this movie.
That might be the worst Halloween.
Yes, it very much might be. I'm going to shove this movie up your ass, and that's what you're going to get. Don't ask me to do this shit again, because I told you no the first 50 times. But in a weird way, though, it's almost like the ending of this movie, because this movie he goes to the stairs, he gets locked up again. So basically, him escaping was just to have a quick conversation with Lee, and that's it on the stairs.
And before you go on, I'm sorry, because this is something I want to point out, and I almost forgot. I actually think every single interaction that he has with Lee is fucking forced, and there's like Deus Ex script, like the guard who hates him but likes him, brings him there because to meet her and puts him next to her, yeah. And then he all of a sudden he's becoming famous, so he goes to see the movie, and she's there, and then she's like, I don't know, and then he breaks out. Like, every fucking time they have a moment together, it seems so forced.
Yeah, it doesn't add up. It just does not add up on so many levels. But the end of this movie happens, and he goes back into prison, and he's going back to being quiet because like the first half of this movie, he's basically silent. He's not telling. He's nothing like the Arthur Fleck that we left off with in the first movie. He's been more broken and everything like that. And we see kind of like why, like the inmates are. I mean, the guards have been fucking with him and stuff like that, and torturing him and stuff. And there's this young guy who we do see during the movie is kind of clocking him and stuff like that from a distance, and tells him a joke. And then the punchline is, "You get what you deserve." And he fucking shanks him in prison.
The joke is this. I do remember because I just saw it. Okay. The joke is this. A psychopath. What's it? A psychopath and another guy walks into a bar. One guy goes, "Hey, I'd like to get a drink." Psychopath goes, "What do you want?" He goes, "Well, if you're buying whatever you want, you give me whatever you want." The psychopath goes, "You get what you fucking deserve." And then he just starts stabbing him.
Yeah, he stabs Arthur. Arthur starts bleeding out. He has his back to a delusion early in the film with him and Harley, who they are on the stage, and he got shot and everything like that, and he's continuing to bleed out. And we see him bleed out, but we also see the inmate who stabbed him takes that same knife and starts carving into his face a smile.
Yeah.
Kind of like a nod to the Heath Ledger Joker there.
I was going to say, was this supposed to be like a nod to that? It had to be, right?
I can't think of any other reason why it would happen. And I'm guessing this person ends up becoming the Joker. I don't know. I don't actually know.
I don't know either.
I'm guessing maybe
because
not.
That doesn't make any sense to me. But
no, it doesn't.
Yeah, but
a lot of things in this movie don't make a lot of sense. Let me ask
you, as the end, which I want to ask you about. So we clocked this guy looking at Arthur. Did you ever at any moment suspect that this guy was looking to fucking kill Arthur?
No, not at all.
Ever at any point in the movie? Because I didn't. No. This came out of nowhere for me.
It does come out of nowhere. And I don't know if it's because like he knows he gets killed because he's not Joker. And I think earlier in the movie when he's watching him, it's because he's infatuated by him as well. And now he knows he's not. Fuck him then. You're just a punk now.
They needed to do more for that then.
I'm trying to ad-lib it and make it make sense. Jason, work with me. I'm trying to make it make sense. Because otherwise it's just dumb.
This is because there's so much other shit that goes nowhere. Like, so the guy that he kisses,
yes,
right? Because the guards send him over, that goes nowhere. That guy gets killed, that goes nowhere by the guards, that goes nowhere. Like, so there's shit you could have cut to have a moment with this guy, maybe an interaction with Fleck, because he does not interact with him. He watches them from afar.
Yep.
But and look, if it's real life and I'm stalking you and I want to kill you, sure, it's real life. That's how it works. This is not real life. I'm fucking watching a movie. I need some form of like, hey, tip of the hat, this might happen. It doesn't have, it just literally had to be them having an interaction.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what you were saying with Todd Phillips earlier. That's what I was going to tie it into, is almost like the end of this movie. And this movie is, oh yeah, you want a sequel? You want to pay me all this money? You want to do a $200 million fucking budget? Well, you get what you deserve. Here's your movie. It's kind of what it felt like. I'm going to be completely honest. That's that's probably why I didn't like this movie as much as I dislike it, because I don't at all. Like, I don't ever really plan on watching this again.
No. If Reg wants to, because she likes Lady Gaga, I'll watch it with her. But I will habitually put on the Joker, the first one, because I think it's a great movie. I don't, unless I go into some weird Batman fucking deep dive on my own personal thing, I don't think I'll watch it either. Again, I didn't hate it. I don't think I disliked it as much as you did. Clearly, I didn't like it as much as I thought I did before I started talking about it.
That's usually when it happens.
It's true, yeah, because I was talking, so many things don't work. But again, I think I'm just tepid. I'm indifferent. I don't want to watch it again. Like, The only thing that would make me watch this again, honestly, is I think Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of Arthur Fleck is still very interesting in this. And I think that's, if there's saving grace, that's it.
Yeah, and I did want to kind of like get to that, because I will say there are the things I want to, because I didn't say anything positive about this movie, like outside of the one scene with Gary Puddles, is the things I will say is this: Joaquin Phoenix's performance is still great. Like, he still goes all in. He has a phenomenal performance as Arthur Fleck, and I will give it that. I think Lady Gaga does a good job with what she's given, but she's not given a lot at all.
Yes. Ed, I'm so happy you said that, because I walked out of that movie saying that I need to say this on Granny's tonight. And then I did not tell you that at all. And we did not speak about it at all.
Nope.
But you literally said word for word what I wanted to say. Yes, she does exactly what she can with the material, but she's giving almost nothing to work with.
Yeah. And I will give Todd Phillips, or the cinematographer, credit. This movie looks beautiful. It's well shot.
It does.
Everything, the sets and everything like that, the set design,
and
costumes, everything is great. I will say that. It is a beautiful looking
and there
movie.
are some scenes. It is, and there are some scenes, like the scene in the very beginning when they all have the different color umbrellas, and he's being rained on. You know, that is visually stunning, and also a nod to like that type of musical they were going on after, right? Like, because that type of musical was Technicolor, 60s movie Technicolor, and so they were going for that aesthetic, and at some points they really, really do get it. But yeah. I think what you said is perfect. It's the inconsistency that kills this movie.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going for just another, mocking or parody of this quote, but I do think that the perfect way to put it is there are concepts of a great movie here, but the execution just doesn't add up. Like, you had the material. I would like to see the movie that they actually wrote before tearing it up constantly and trying to get too cute with it. Like, I can't let go of that. The fact that I know agree. That it bothers me. It bothers me.
It does. And I think if this movie was utter garbage, if we were both sitting here going, "Oh my God, I wiped my ass with this movie," which neither of us are saying, I think it's easier to say, yeah, they tried something stupid. It didn't work. The fact that there are some strong things about this movie that if it was consistent and if it was consistently built upon, like one does with a script, yes. I think that's what's kind of pissing us off. Like, I like certain aspects of the early Lady Gaga thing, right, as Harley, and then they ruin it because it's inconsistent. And like we talked about her change of like she's lying to him. What does that even matter? Could you point out one thing in the movie that changes because of that? Like, except for the what is arguably my favorite, like musical number with him and her, and they're singing to each other, and the one that winds up when she shoots him. Like, that's my favorite musical number. But other than that, like, what comes of that?
Nothing. I think you should have either made her part of his fantasy and just made her completely not real again. But then again, I guess maybe that would have kind of been silly because they sort of did that in the first movie.
I think they needed to make her as crazy as him, where they literally were sharing the same delusion.
Yes, that's kind of my second option is going to be. You got to commit one way or the other.
Like,
to whatever you're doing with her.
You have to. But and the problem is like, I think they do that for a little bit, and then the inconsistency shows up. Because if they were doing that, where like we are committing to the delusion, this movie, you want to kill the Joker? That's fine. That's fine. You want to kill him? I'm okay with that. This movie then should have ended with them meeting at the stairs, getting back into their shared delusion, and dying in a hail of fucking bullets, if that's what you want to do. right? But like the shared delusion has to be the theme. It's called a fucking shared delusion. She like once he's no longer once he breaks the delusion, then she walks away, and I'm sorry, that's not earned either.
No, and I just think it's just a lack of committing. That's where whatever. They do. Her name is in lights as Harley Quinn, so whatever. That's where the Harley Quinn is an issue in this movie, is because, and again, it's nothing to do with Gaga herself. It's just the fact that the writing of her character is fucking dog shit, and that's where
agreed.
The movie fails. The movie completely fails her, and everything else doesn't work in it.
I would actually say this, knowing what I know about Todd Phillips and his dislike for this franchise, I would not be surprised if it comes out that he did not want Harley Quinn in the movie. The studio insisted, and this is what he did. Because, like, honestly, you could lift Harley Quinn out of this movie. What changes? Outside of, like, the Joker's motivation, but you could just give him an imaginary girlfriend for that. We did that in the first one. So, like, what changes if she's not in this movie? She has no impact on the story.
Not much. No, you're right. There's really not much, because he still breaks out. He still could have went around in a big circle and came right back. I mean, that's kind of what he did anyway.
All that stuff. Yeah. He literally just could have went back. Yeah, he could have broken out, went to the stairs because it's where he used to live. It was the last time he felt free. It was the iconic Joker thing, and then they catch him. Like, you don't need her in this movie, but she is in this movie, and she's supposed to be really important, and she's not. And I think that's the problem. She needs to be as important as him. And at times, this could have been an interesting story of her being the Arthur Fleck, right? Because you have those moments of, I look up to you. I want to be you. I saw you on TV. I want you.
Like he was with Murray. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
I can see that.
But they don't do anything with that. So that could have been really interesting. This actually could have been Gaga's movie or Harley's movie, in the sense that, like, she is now the Arthur Fleck attaching herself to him the way he did to Murray, and maybe it ends with her killing him, and that's fine. But they set this up and it goes nowhere. It's like so many things in this movie, it goes nowhere.
Yeah. So I think it's, unfortunately, I'm always open-minded to sequels. I really am. I try to keep an open mind to them, because I do think historically people seem to give them a bad rap, but I think over time Hollywood has gotten better at making sequels, and I can even say that there are some that are better than the originals. This is a sequel that its existence doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Unfortunately, I think that's what it goes back to, that it was completely unnecessary, and it showed in the end. Yes, you had the material to do something right. Looked like you had concepts of a great movie, but you chose to go nowhere with it. And to tell you the truth, this is the second time Todd Phillips has made a sequel to a movie that was great, and the sequels not so much, because he did Hangover. I love The Hangover.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize he did The Hangover. Okay,
he did all three of them, and he did all three of them. 2 and 3.
I like that.
2 is okay. Yeah, I love the first movie. 2 was basically a carbon copy of the first one in a different setting. Okay, whatever. I still got some laughs. The third movie is just all over the place, and I don't know what the fuck is going on there. So that's it. So Todd Phillips, if you're going to keep making movies, there's no more sequels. I think it's safe to say, get it. Just don't do it. No matter how much your great movie makes, just let it go. No more.
Yeah, I could have lived without this movie.
Yes, if this movie didn't exist, you'd be fine.
I'd be fine, but also I could live with this movie if it was really good, and that's what pisses me off. That is, it could have been really good.
But Jason, I'm with you on that. I'm just talking about based on what we got, but it had a lot of potential. And going back to what we said in the beginning, it was either going to be a grand slam or it was going to be a complete fucking dud. And for me, and I'm starting to think you're coming more in my direction now, I'm starting to think you don't actually like this movie now, like a lot at all. I think it frustrates you.
It does frustrate me. All right, I'm going to say this. Let's use a baseball metaphor. So it's not a home run. It's not a grand slam at all. I thought this was a first base hitter when I first walked in here. Now I realize it's a punt. It's a punt.
Oh, my God.
It's just like, I'm here. I'm just trying something.
It was a failed bunt.
A bunt,
That's
not a
what it
punt.
was.
A bunt.
It was a failed bunt. Like he tried to lay down a bunt and completely missed and whiffed for strike 3. Jesus Christ. Oh man.
Yes. Don't you love when I go sports on you, Ed?
I do. There's twice this week. I don't even know what I'm gonna get next week. Man. It's disappointing, man. It's just kind of what it is. So
it is disappointing, and I think the thing that keeps me liking is I like the performances. That's it. I like the performances. I like the aesthetic. But yeah, the story. I'm sorry, it's kind of garbage, and it didn't need to be there. And the end comes out of nowhere. I'm sorry, I don't buy the ending where he just gets fucking shanked and like. So there's just so much I just don't buy.
Yeah, and the fact that his admission that there is no Joker, there never was, it was always him, again, completely is a fuck you to the first movie. But
it nullifies everything in this movie.
It nullifies the whole thing. Basically, it's all Jason, you ready? It's almost Wishmaster like.
It is. It actually is. It actually is. I actually thought we were going to get this was all his dream and none of it happened. I really did think for a second that was what was coming.
That's kind of, sort of what we got, but not really.
Because just nothing means anything. Like, he's sentenced to death at the end of this movie, and the last we see of him, he's just watching TV, smoking cigarettes. Like, did any of this happen? Actually, I do want to question that. Did any of this happen?
The world may never know. Just like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop.
No, we did. We solved that. It's 3.
Oh, okay. You're right.
1, 2, 3. 3.
Yep. So that commercial was more decisive than this film.
Oh, that commercial has actually given me the way that my life should go the whole time. I understand everything in life because of that commercial. If someone asks you a question you don't know the answer to, you make the answer true.
All right. Anything else on Joker? Folie doo-doo?
I don't want to shit on the French. All right. What else do I have about this movie? No, it's just very inconsistent. I don't think I have anything else. It's fine. I think there are moments that work in this movie, right? And I think what really elevates this movie from the garbage it could be is the performances. Joaquin Phoenix is just an amazing actor. Him as Fleck is always very interesting. Lady Gaga does what she can. I think she is a good actress and a good singer. I am a Lady Gaga fan. I don't know if you know about that. My son is he loves Lady Gaga. He listens to one song over and over again. Bad Romance.
Okay.
You know, so I like her. I like her in this. I wish she did more. Yeah, that's it. I'm a guy who likes musicals. It's too much of a musical for me, but not enough, if that makes sense. So
you're a guy who loves musicals, you're a guy who loves Batman, who loves the Joker. You love everything that this movie is supposed to be about. Who loved the first movie? Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I said this movie, when we always ask who is this movie made for, me, I love musicals. in particular, I love 40s, 50s, 60s musicals. I love Technicolor musicals, all right? I love Batman. I love the Joker. I love the Joker, Todd Phillips Joker that we saw. I like Lady Gaga a lot. I like Joaquin Phoenix. I like or love everything surrounding this movie. It just didn't work.
I
guess movie. That is more damning than anything. No, it's because I guess it's more damning the fact that this is a movie made for me and I can't do anything but say it was fine.
And I still think you're being kind. I still think that me and you are gonna talk about this movie in like a week, and you're gonna be like, you know something, it wasn't fun. It was less than. It was less.
You're probably right. I'll have to I'm gonna have to rewatch it just so I can solidify my opinion of it.
When it comes out on Max, perfect time.
Oh fuck yeah! I'm not spending shit on this movie again.
And I can promise you, based on the projected box office and the reception, this movie will be on Max real quick. It will be on real fast. Maybe by the end of the month, it might be on because it's bombing hard.
So I think we should. I want to start a phrase right now called the Boomerang movie. Like this.
Okay. Oh,
crap,
it comes right in. Nice.
Where, because you put it out and it comes right back to you. It's that quick.
And listen, as far as quality-wise, if anyone was wondering, because I also did see this on our Facebook page or whatever, I'm not saying it's Madam Web. It's not Borderlands. It's not the Crow 20. It's not the Crow 2024, but it's bad, and it's not just a little bad. It's very bad. But those movies were complete atrocities to film. I wouldn't go as far as saying that about this, but I still think it's a really bad movie.
And I don't. Again, I'm tepid on it. I'm going to say this: all the movies Ed said talked about, except for Borderlands, because I have a bit of a fucking soft spot for it. I'm like, yeah, those were.
You're going to rewatch this before Borderlands. You're going to rewatch this before Borderlands.
Oh, 100%. Oh no, Ed, I'm never going to watch Borderlands again. What are you talking about? I am never going to watch Borderlands again. I just didn't hate it as much as everyone else did. But yeah, this movie, it's nowhere near any of those. And I'm going to say it's worth watching. I'm not saying go pay $20 in the theater for it, but it's worth watching and getting your own opinion of it. There's interesting stuff to see. Again, there are good performances. It's a beautiful looking movie. But yeah, I would say don't go to the theater for this.
I think if you're going to go to the theater and see it, and again, I will also say that the theater is where I prefer to see it. Go on like a Tuesday $5 thing, or if you got Regal Unlimited or AMC A-List, go for it.
Oh yeah,
go check it out. Then you might as well, because again, the more movies you see, the more bang for your buck you get. You don't get your time back, but hey, you're going to go form an opinion. Why not? I have a blast when I go to theaters. So.
But I'm going to say this. I did not walk out of this movie wanting my time back.
No, I didn't say that.
I didn't necessarily love it. You know what I'm saying? So, so this is like, I walked out of The Crow wanting my time back. I walked out of, I don't know, fucking whatever the other movie was. Not Borderlands. I wanted my time back too. Madam Web. Oh God, I wanted twice the time back. I wanted twice the time back for Madam Web. It was so bad. This
Night Swim for me was another one.
There you go. This is not something I needed my time back for. This was just something, I'm glad I saw it. I didn't love it. It could have been better. It should have been better. I wanted it to be better. I'll never see it again, but I don't.
No, you're going to see it.
I don't look at it as a time suck. I will see it again. I don't want to see it again. There's a difference. I have to see it again so I can, I can actually formulate a long-lasting opinion on it. But I don't want to see it again.
Fair enough. All right. So then that does it for us this week, as always. And yes, Jason, we did fucking 2 shows this week. Look at us.
2 shows. We're fucking professionals. And we're going to do a third on Sunday.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Rick.
Oh, Bruce.
Sorry.
Rick's last comment. No one wants to watch it twice. Rick, you missed the part where I said I was
You
going
didn't even
to watch
it once.
That's true, Rick. You didn't even watch it once. Get lost with this. You're null and void. Get out of here with that crap. Go watch it once and come back to us.
Sorry, man.
Listen, we'll be back
Rick,
next
but you
week.
didn't even watch it once. You got to put your dues in.
Yeah, stop with that. Get out of here. So he just said something else didn't see it once. This is true. We'll be back next week. We'll be discussing another episode 5 of Agatha All Along when that drops on Wednesday. We'll have a 3rd episode of The Penguin to discuss next week. And we have the season premiere of Superman and Lois, their final season. I know we talked about this a few days ago. I promise you, that will be the show next week. Those will be the topics we will be covering. I can assure you of this time. Because we didn't think we were going to do another show this week, but we just had to. We had to get our Joker thoughts out of us immediately. So,
like little behind the bases here. Ed and I try not to talk about these movies together until we get on the show, but we really, really want to the point where I sent Ed and Rick a text when I left the Joker, like, I just saw the Joker, ... And Ed was like, save it for the show. And I was like, and I had typed half my review and went, he's right. Let me just delete it. So
yeah.
Yes, that's why we had to do the show tonight.
we were officially scraping at the door to discuss this. So we're glad we finally
We were scraping at the door.
Yeah, we were. The definition of it. If you check this out on Facebook, be sure to check out the Granny's PhD Facebook group, because that's where we share a bunch of stories and trailers and stuff like that don't make the show, and our own show as well. So you can come see us there. Check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com, because that's who we are presented by. And YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros and wherever you found your audio-only podcasts, Pop Culture Pros. We will see you guys if you're into horror movies. Come check us out. PCP Deep Dive Sunday night. Jason, we got Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, which I actually rewatched right before this show. So can't wait to talk about that on Sunday. As well as the first episode of Freddy's Nightmares. 4. Right?
Yep, that's right. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Dream Master, and first episode of Freddy's Nightmares, which I didn't realize this, but you had said was written by John Saxon, right?
It was the concept of his Nightmare on Elm Street sequel.
Yeah, it was written around his concept. Yeah, he had a concept of a plan. That's the
concept of a sequel.
That's right. So we're going to start to look at that as well as Dream Master, and we're also going to start talking about like the commercialization of Freddy, right? We kind of started talking about it last week, but this is where it amps up. So, join us. I know it's going to be Ed, it's going to be Ginny, it's going to be myself, and it's going to be Tim. So the regular foursome.
All right. So we'll see you Sunday, and if not, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Later.